Ladies, gents, folks, friends, everybody, welcome yet another video we're back with after a while, hopefully with improved video quality because the last ones were 480p. Today we're going to be covering get forms in Flask. So this is particularly, let's do get it for this purpose. Actually, we might want to do that from here. Where we left off, it looks like we had a home page with a list of users and such. Let's also open up the index.html template here. Okay, that looks pretty good. And let's just make this segment a little bit bigger. And same for this here. If we just do this, there we go. And let's go ahead and run our web app by doing source mem bin activate and flask run debug. Oh, never mind. It was python 3 app py, or what do we call it? My first app.py. There we go. So, oops. There we go. Now we are officially running our web application. We got our where we left off last tutorial with. We had a for loop that looped for user and users, blah blah. Okay, we don't necessarily need this anymore. We're going to be working with get forms. So should we do that in this, or should we do that in, let's just do it in the index, not to get confusing. So we will delete all of this. We will just do return render template with index.html. I hope my microphone is on. It looks like it. Okay. So this is our index.html file. Obviously, we already know this, so we can just say welcome to our website. For now, when we refresh the page, it just says welcome to our website. Perfect. So we've kind of reset the app in some sense. Okay, so what now? What is a get form? Well, a get form is basically, it's a form. When you don't specify any methods in HTML, it's going to automatically have the get method. Okay, so this is a get form. So whether you put this or not, that's the same thing. I'm going to put it just so that it shows, it's clear that it's a get form. We're going to do an input type text. Okay, so let's just refresh the page just to see what that looks like. Okay, so it's a text. Okay, we can put a placeholder. Call it enter, what should we do? Enter price. Okay, so you'll be able to enter a price here. Now, yeah, okay. So for example, if we wanted to enter like 20, that's $20, we could just put that and that would be the price. But you can notice that, you know, it's not an HTML tutorial, but just to make it look a little better, we could do price 2 dots like this, so that when we're entering the price, we also know what we're entering in case the placeholder doesn't show. We can optionally also add things like values. You already know, maybe through HTML, how this stuff is. Input form, this is how it works. But what we're really concerned about for the sake of this tutorial is not even this, it's definitely not this placeholder. It's the type is important, yes, but the main thing that we're going to need for our Flask web application is this attribute called name. Okay, so the name, we'll call it price. All right. So now in the backend, we can use something like this. Price. Okay, this price will equal the value that we receive from this input box right here. So we're going to do price equals request.args.get. And we're gonna say price. Mind you, this is the reference point, right? So if we call this like the price, for example, the price here is this. And I like to clarify this just so that you can get the difference that this variable doesn't have to equal this one. I'll call it price still, but just know that what goes inside of this get is what's coming from here, right? From the name attribute of this inputs. Okay, so we put a form where we have now this input, right, which is the price. How do we link it? Well, this is how we capture the value of price. We can, for example, print it. So we can print price. Okay, and when we refresh this page, okay, it's gonna say request is not defined. That's because we haven't imported request from Flask. Flask's request object allows you to fetch the request that's being, you know, in the context of the visitor's request basically, and it's checking for arguments. Now you could do this in this fashion, for example, but if this doesn't exist, if the price doesn't exist, it would say, I don't think I get what you mean by price, because it's not a part of the arguments, because we never submitted the form price. So what you can do instead is you can use the args.getPrice in this fashion, so that it will render the page still. It will get this without getting an error because price doesn't exist. So what it's going to do is actually price will equal none at this point, because we haven't submitted this price yet. So right now price is none, and therefore if we look at what it printed, it should have printed none. There you go, it printed none, right? So that's just because we're looking at the output of our web application. And just to show this a little bit more clearly, I'll do that one more time. I'll run our web application, and I will refresh here, and it says none. Every time we refresh, it'll say none right now. But let's say we enter a price 50 and we hit enter, it will show 50. Why? Because we've now made the price 50. But watch what happens when I reload this page. 50, 50, 50, 50. Why is that? Well, because we've already entered the price as 50. So you think, well, does it save it in the database? Actually, no. We're using a get form. If you know how get forms work in general, it'll add as a part of the URL. Now, this, every time we visit the home page, is actually tied to the request as an argument now. So that's why we're able to retrieve this from the request args. Actually, what happens when you submit an HTML form is every time you submit it, you are sending a request with this question mark and rest of the arguments part. The form is just being sent with those arguments, unless you specify otherwise in the beginning of the form here. But we didn't do that, so it's just sending a request to this address, the home page, and it's actually grabbing every single input, and it's saying, okay, so price equals whatever we type here. So if we typed price equals hello and we hit enter, you can see that it says price equals hello, right? So it's gonna say name price, that's what this is, right, equals hello, and hello is the value. So if we pre-populated this with a value like hi, okay, every time we refresh, it would show hi. But you can see that since price is hello here, when we refresh, it will still continue printing out hello, because we never submitted that hi. But as soon as we press enter here, it'll say hi on the left. You can see that. Okay, so hopefully that's all clear. And okay, so we don't need a predefined value for now, but what you may have noticed is that I'm hitting the enter key. Perhaps we want to make that a bit easier to navigate. We can just say button value search items. So just to get you the idea, this this is not how, this is input type submit. This is how we do it. If you wanted a button, this is also the button way to do this. You can use either, but you will find that they have their differences. So these two do the same thing when they're inside a form. But if you take this outside a form, then it will function as a button that doesn't submit the form. And things like, there's semantic differences, and especially if you're using CSS and stuff, you'd have to account for these things, but that's beyond the scope of what we're doing right now. So this is how get forms work at the moment. So if, for example, we put 20, again, it just automatically makes. You can also do this with multiple forms, right? So let's say there's the price, but there's also the brand. Okay, so if we're searching items within a specific brand, let's just put a BR here so that it looks a bit neater. Maybe 2 BRs looks a bit neater that way as well. And we can also put a BR here because we want the button to be at the bottom. Again, 2 BRs is gonna make it look neater, hopefully. Okay, so we're gonna put, like, we're looking in the $20, if we're looking for an item that's $20, and the brand is gonna be called Mahonal. Okay, an item from Mahonal that is $20. So you can see right now it's just saying 20 because we haven't captured the brand in the backend. But if we do that, we can do brand equals request args get brand, and we print brand now. This will give an error if the brand is empty, because it's an untype, and you're trying to concatenate a string and an untype. So if we were to remove this, for example, you will get this error. The way to fix that is, if this returns an untype, right, when you're printing it, you should convert it and force it to be a string. And this isn't necessarily something you'd maybe some cases you want to do this, sometimes not, but it says brand none, so it's useful in our case because this way we can see what it is. Same thing for price. Maybe the price is not going to be provided, right? And you want to print it out like this. You could say price, and you could do this. You could also not recommend this so much, but you could also do F here and embed the price attribute without having to worry about the string conversion, so that doesn't error. This seems much more conventional, but could lead to some problems. It's a bit better to parse it in a safe way, like this, generally speaking. But you could do either method, really. Anyways, so right now it's saying price is none and brand is none. Okay, but let's say that we put price $20 and brand to be Mahonal again. We can see price 20, brand Mahonal. Now, you can customize this form to be however you would want it to be within HTML. So for example, instead of type text here, we can make this type number, and it will only allow us to put numbers. I'm not able to put any, I'm typing right now, but it's not letting me put the same way I would type here. It's not letting me do that here. So I could put 1, 2, 3, I could make it go up, down. I could definitely, since this is going to be a price, I would want to put a step of 0.01. So that every time we're increasing or decreasing the price, that's how much it increases or decreases by. And we could also do a min. That was my brain thinking min and max, so it wrote mix. The minimum price should be 0, and the maximum price could maybe be 999 something, maybe, I don't know. So you can see, like, since we put the max here, it's not going to let us go below 0, and it won't let us go past this price. You can see that's the max it'll let us do. And you could add some different types of validation, but that's again beyond the scope of this this course and video, especially this video. So we have this welcome to our website with a form now. We know how to get attributes. This would be especially useful, I think, if you want to list some, if you have like 100 items down here and you want to put some parameters, like I want to see items in the 22. So for example, this would be like min price. You would have another one which is max price, and your condition here would be like, let's say if you had a function like this called get items, and you had a min price and a max price, right? In here, what you would do is you would code a way that returns, and then, like, you know, it would return all of a list of items basically based on this minimum and maximum price that you could use down here. And you would also add the brand and stuff, and all of these could be none, and you would put your if conditionals and stuff. So these are topics for future videos, really, but for now, just to get the idea, this is how get forms are handled. Get forms are specifically useful for things that contain non-sensitive data, especially if you want to share this link with somebody else. For example, now I could share this link easily. For example, like if you're using some website like eBay or Amazon, some e-commerce websites where you've done some filterings and you want to share with your friends the results that come up, it would be useful for them to not have to filter the prices and stuff if you've already done that and you want to share your the way that you're viewing the page based on the filters that you've put. This way you can just share the link, and that link will contain basically the price that you set and the brand that you're looking for, and vice versa, and they'll see the same listings. The next video will cover a post method where we will by the way, very important, something I should show before ending this video actually. Maybe here we would wanna, like in an H2, what I will do is I'll put an if condition just to show you how these things can be used. If request.args.get price, then you entered the price, or rather, here are items with the pricing, and here you can do request args get price, right? So we also have to end this if condition, of course, so I will do that. So we do the end if here, and there you go, with the price $20. So when somebody first visits this website without any, what is going on? Google Lens. Without any price, right? It doesn't say any of that, but if we put like 50, okay, we search items, here are items with the price 50, and then you would list the items. So you can put that inside of this if condition with a for loop, like let's say, you know, blah blah blah, like for item in items, and you would provide this items from the backend, yada yada. You get the general idea. But this is how you would be able to link things. Alternatively, you can also do that here. Price equals price, because you've already received it from the request args get. So that's another alternative. And then this way you can use the keyword price if you would like. But I think this is a decent way to navigate things. Same with brand, of course. You know, you can do. I've already shown how if-else conditions are work, but if you want to do like an else, no price was inputted, can be something, for example. See, things like that. Anyways, I think that's the end of this video. Appreciate your time, taking the time to come swing by. I look forward to future videos, especially the post one. It's going to be it's one of the more used, I would say, generally speaking. It's more used than get. They have their functions. Like this function that I covered is more suited for get, but things like registration forms, login forms, or any, you know, confidential information that's being passed on a form, such as an email address, name, vice versa. Generally speaking, you kind of want to keep that secretive, and you don't want that to show up in the URL here the way that it does when you submit a get form, right? So for example, if you put things here, you can see it from the link. These are the types of things that you wouldn't want with, for example, your password showing up here, your name, your email address showing up here. So the next video will cover post forms, which includes how to safely retrieve how to safely communicate a form from the front end to the back end, the Flask application, where you can do things with things like passwords and with things like you know, email addresses and sensitive personal information, and maybe as a part of that form, stuff that isn't sensitive as well. For example, maybe you know, if they want to receive promotional, like a checkbox or vice versa. So all that stuff will be covered in the next video. I mean, I don't know if all that stuff, including the checkbox and stuff, but the basics of post forms will be covered in the next video, so that you can learn how to navigate your way with that. And I wish you all a wonderful day, and I look forward to recording the next one shortly.